first thing we will be talking about is organization and description of data. Okay. So, what is this organization and description of data? Like we want to see that suppose you have data, because we told that in statistics we have to do with lots of data, right? So you have your data and you want to see how you can organize your data and how you can get useful information out of that data, right? So that is covered in chapter 2 of the book, right? So we will be covering 2.1 to 2.7. Okay, Harshil? Yeah. So, why we need this organization? So we know that in statistics, when we collect data, we collect huge amount of data, right? Have you worked with any real life data ever, Harshil? Have you? Your voice is okay. Okay. So the number of rows, if you remember, how many number of rows were there in your data set? Like maybe thousands or okay, only two. Okay, it is small data set, right? But in general, if we talk about say what analysis Amazon is performing, right? So if we talk about their data set, right, huge. Most of the times when we are doing the real things, we have huge number of rows, right? Okay. So we are saying that statistical data which is obtained from surveys, experiments, or any series of measurements, it's a huge data set, and it is virtually like useless unless until we condense it, right? Okay, if you just want to look at the data and you want to get some information, it is almost impossible if I make some useful graph for you. Otherwise, like I have to do this thing, I have to make some useful graphs, some meaningful graphs. I can just cannot just look at the data and say, okay, this is the information I see from the data when my data is huge, right? So for visual representations, there are so many types of important graphs, right? Okay. So the first graphs, some of them we have already studied, right? So some of them you may not have studied, I don't know. So we will be talking about a few of them, right? So the first diagram we are talking about is Pareto diagram. Are you aware of this? What is a Pareto diagram? Hashil, you have any idea? Okay. Okay. Maybe may not be the name, right? So who is Pareto? As we can see that it's name of a person. He was a an Italian economist. This is the picture of him, Wilfredo Pareto, right? He has this principle, right, which we can use in our life also. He says that about 80% of the problems, right, come from 20% of the causes, right? So what does that mean? That most of the things which we care about, if we look at, there are so many causes of that problem, right? For example, suppose somebody is lazy, right? And if he or she is looking into the causes, so he or she will find so many causes, but the most effective will be only 20% of the causes, right? That makes sense? Yeah. Okay, so it means that if we work on that 20%, we can achieve 80%, right? So you see, this is the principle. It says that you have to just focus on this 20% part, right? If you just work on this 20%, so you have an effort of, you have to put an effort for 20%, and you will get 80% of the things done, right? Okay, that 20% is the cause for 80% of the problems. Does that make sense? Right, so this is the principle, Pareto principle. Now so what we are saying is, in Pareto diagram, so we would like to look at the causes of a particular problem, right? And we will be interested in knowing what causes are the most important for that particular problem. So I'm looking for a diagram which will tell me that, okay, these two causes are the most important. Okay, right? So what is a Pareto diagram? In Pareto diagram, what we have to do, we will make a bar chart that shows the category of the problems and the causes in descending order, right? Okay, I will show you with an example. And then we will have a line graph which shows the cumulative frequency of the total effect. So I will explain with an example. Suppose, let us take this example. Suppose there is a computer controlled lathe machine. Okay, so what is a lathe machine? Lathe machine is for cutting, right? For cutting metal, plastic, or wood, right? So this is a computer controlled lathe machine. Suppose an engineer is working on this lathe machine, and they note that there are some malfunctions, right? And then they note the causes of the malfunction. So they found that these are the causes: power fluctuations 6 times. Okay, it is a cause of the malfunction. And then controller not stable, this happens 22 times. And then operator error, this happens 13 times. And uh, want tool not replaced, this happens 2 times. And some other reasons are also 5 times. Okay, so what we are saying, that we have a computer controlled lathe machine, and we are looking at what are the possible reasons for the fault in our output, and we found that these are the possible causes, right? Here you can very easily see that the most important are these two, right? And if we just focus on these two, we will reduce our malfunction or faults by 80%. That makes sense, right? But how to make Pareto diagram? What we will be doing is, we will look at the maximum frequency. So what is the maximum frequency here? Controller not stable, right? And how many times? 22 times. And we want to calculate the percentage, so you just add these numbers, you'll get 48. Okay, so what I'm doing is 22, and the percentage is 22 by 48 into 100, so that is 45.8%. Okay, this is the most frequent cause. And then I go to the second frequent cause, which is operator error. Okay, so I go to the next frequent cause, which is the operator error, and it happens 13 times. So what is the percentage? Percentage would be 13 over 48 into 100. So that will be a 27.1%. Make sense? Right? Understand, right? So now what you do, you calculate the cumulative percentage also, right? So you add them, so you'll get the cumulative percentage, right? Now the similar thing you can do for all the causes in descending order. So you'll start with this controller not stable, then you go to this operator error, and then the next one is power fluctuation, and then the next one is others. We will keep it at end, right? So next one will be want to, so whatever are unknown, we'll keep it at end also, always, right? That makes sense. So we have all the percentage. So this is how a Pareto diagram will look like. So you see, first cause was, so what you will do, you will put the cause or defect here. So I said the first was unstable controller, then operator error, then power fluctuation, then tools, and then others. Okay. Here you note the count. So count was 22, 13, 6, 2, and 5. Right. And then I calculated the percentage also, right? You remember? So this is 45.8%. This is 7.1%. These I did not calculate. You can calculate on your own. These were the percentage I got. And then you also calculate the cumulative percentage. Just write this one as such. Then add these two. You'll get this one, and so on and so on. That makes sense? Yeah? Yeah. Last one. Okay? Yeah? So the down part makes sense. Any doubts here, Harshit? Okay, and here we will be plotting count, right? So for example, unstable is 22 times. So this is a 22 times thing. And then error was 13. So here it is 13, and so on. Here this is optional, but you can make it. Here I put the percentage. Okay. So for example, this one first one was 45.8. So this is actually 45.8. Okay. Right? Make sense? Okay. And here this is the graph. Here we have to put the cumulative frequency. Okay, so for example, this is 22, this number is 22, then this is 22 plus 13. Okay, And then this is 22 plus 13 plus 6. And the next one is 22 plus 13 plus 6 plus 2. And the last one is 22 plus 13 plus 6 plus 2 plus 5. Make sense? Yeah? Okay, now, yeah, yeah, the last one is 14. So now whenever I get this graph, Pareto graph, so I know that these like these like the earlier one causes, they are the most important, and I just have to work on these causes, right? Unless until I want to make something perfect, right? Most of the times whenever we are doing something, we are looking for 80% of the work done, right? Am I right? So because we never look for perfection in a bigger scenario, right? Like most of the times, right? So it means that we have to just work on the most important causes, and that we will be having information from the Pareto diagram. So everything is connected. You understand, right? Why the name and what exactly we have to do here, right? Okay. Okay. Uh, so we can infer from here that for the quality improvement to make most impact, we want to work on unstable controller and operator error. Okay. Yeah. So now next one is, so this was Pareto diagram. So next one is dot diagram. So this is very simple. So what is a dot diagram? A dot diagram is a chart that uses dots to represent individual data values along a line or category to show their frequency and distribution. So what is the meaning? So I have taken an example here, the same example of computer controlled lathe machine. So suppose like as a second step towards improvement of the lathe process, the data were collected on the deviation of cutting speed from the target value set by the controller. Now, for a lathe machine, we need cutting, right? We are cutting something. So, we will be setting a speed by the controller, and then there is an actual speed. Okay, this is the target speed, and there is an actual speed. We want that actual speed should be equal to the target speed. But obviously, there are some errors. So, we have measured this cutting speed minus the target speed. Okay, so suppose we have this data 3, 6, minus 2, 4, 7, 4, 3. Does that make sense, Harshil? You understand everything? Okay, so what is the scenario? So now, how I will make a dot diagram? I will note these values, okay? So I'll plot it on line. For example, here I see minus 2 is there. So I minus 2, I put it a minus 2 here. Then I have to make sense. So minus 1, then 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. Right? Now I will go and see. Minus 2 is 1 times. So I'll just put 1 dot. Okay? And then I will see 3 is how many times? 2 times. So I'll put 2 dots here. Okay? And then I'll go. 4 is 2 times again. So I'll put 2 dots here, and then I see 6 is 1 times and 7 is 1 times. So this is the dot diagram. Okay. So this gives us an idea about the distribution of the data, right? How the data is distributed. Make sense? Okay. Yeah. So when the number of observations is small, like for example here we had just 7 observations, it is often difficult to identify any pattern. So you cannot see any pattern. But when you will see the data is huge and you make a dot diagram, you'll get the idea about the pattern, right? Okay. So also dot diagrams when you make, they will expose the outliers. So can you tell me what is an outlier, Harshit? I'm sorry? Okay, false data. Yeah. So yeah, a point which seems uh, to be an error, right? Like something which has come from outside, right? So that is an outlier. So if you make the dot diagram, clearly you will see the outliers, right? So suppose I have one point here, so I will see that this is an outlier because it is far away from rest of the points, right? So that, for example, here if you look at this, we have to create a dot diagram for this data, right? So the first thing we will be doing, we will be arranging it in the ascending order, just because I will know that this is what I have to write. So when I arrange it in the ascending order and then I plot it, so this is how I get it, right? So can you tell me which one is the outlier? This one, right? Yeah. Okay. So here you can easily see it, but when you have like huge number of data, then you cannot see it. Then the moment you make a dot diagram, you'll get it, right? Okay. There are other ways also, but this is one of them. Okay. Okay. So that, no, it can be so many. Outliers can be so many. So actually we have this, uh, uh, know this interquartile range, right? So So what we do, so we have, suppose I have my data, right? I have my data. So I calculate the inter quartiles. What are quartiles? Quartile is, this is the first quartile, then I have the second quartile, then I have the third quartile. So the first quartile is, which is separating, I have 20% of the data here. Then for the second quartile, I have 50% of the data, right? You know that, right? So this Q1 minus Q3, Q3 minus Q1 is my interquartile range. So I say, uh, like it depends, right? How I can say, I can say that something, say I am saying that 1.5 into interquartile range, right? So something like this. Anything outside it is my outlier. Okay, so there can be hundreds of outliers. So this I can say actually, right? But if there are hundreds of outliers, then it probably there is something uh, like terribly wrong with our data set. Okay, yeah. So expect less number of outliers, but it's not that we can have only just one outlier. We can have many. Does that make sense? Okay, so generally people, they say that, like I can define it on my own, that this is my limit. Anything after that is my outlier. Okay, yeah. So I'll be just working on this much of the data. Okay, now I will stop the video here.